I was standing in my kitchen crying while he scrolled through his phone, but the real torment was the moment I realized he had recruited everyone I loved to help him destroy me. By the end of this video, you will understand the mechanics of the flock and the exact blueprint to take your power back when it feels like the whole world is gaslighting you. The air in the room felt heavy and stagnant, like the oppressive, metallic static that hangs in the atmosphere just before a lightning strike, thick with a tension that made it physically hard to draw a full, honest breath, without feeling like I was intruding on someone else's peace or breaking a rule I had not been told yet. I looked at the magnets on the refrigerator, the little notes of a life I thought we were building, and they felt like artifacts from a civilization that had vanished overnight. He was sitting at the heavy wooden table, the harsh, flickering blue light from his phone, illuminating a face that had become a mask of cold, calculated indifference, a face I once found comfort in, but now found terrifying in its stillness. He was completely unbothered by the fact that I had been crying for 20 minutes right in front of him, my tears hitting the linoleum floor in a steady, rhythmic pattern that seemed to be the only clock left in the room. Every sob I let out felt like it was hitting a thick brick wall and echoing back at me, hollow and ignored, as if my pain were merely annoying background noise to his endless, indifferent scrolling. I realized then, with a sharp and localized pang of clarity, that my suffering was not a crisis to him. It was an inconvenience, a buzzing fly in the ear of his ego. He did not even look up when I choked on a breath. His thumb just kept moving, swiping away my existence one post at a time. When I finally found my voice, cracked and fragile, to ask why he had lied about the bank account, why the money we had carefully saved for our future, our security, and our safety was suddenly gone without a trace, without a receipt, and without a single word of explanation, he did not even flinch. He did not look guilty. He did not look surprised. And he certainly did not look sorry. He just looked up at me with a practiced, weary exhaustion. His eyes narrowed as if I were the one being difficult, irrational, and unnecessarily cruel for noticing the theft. He sighed, that long, theatrical, chest-heaving breath he used to signal his ultimate victimhood to the world, and he said, "I was only trying to protect you from your own spiraling anxiety because I knew you would overreact and lose control, but I guess I cannot do any single thing right in your eyes anymore, no matter how hard I try to keep us afloat." In that precise moment, the entire room shifted on its axis, and the light seemed to dim into a gray, suffocating haze. I felt that familiar cold dread wash over me, a physical chill that started deep in my solar plexus and radiated outward to my very fingertips, numbing my skin and making my knees feel like they might give way. Suddenly, through the sheer power of his words and his unwavering conviction, the narrative had been flipped by a master of the craft. I was no longer the partner who had been lied to, betrayed, and financially undermined. I was the bully, attacking a tired, misunderstood man who was just trying to do his best under the crushing, unfair weight of my demands. He made me feel like a monster for asking where our life savings went, and the scariest part was that for a second, I actually believed him. This was the Charlie Brown switch, a tactical maneuver designed to make me feel like the aggressor for simply holding him accountable for his own actions. It is the moment the predator becomes the prey in the eyes of the onlookers. 1 second he was the one who had committed the betrayal, and the next he was slumping his shoulders, casting his eyes downward toward the floor, and looking small, defeated, and broken, as if I were the one holding the knife over his heart. I felt that overwhelming, conditioned, almost biological urge to apologize for my tone, to walk over and hug him, to tell him it was okay and that we would figure out the money together as long as he was happy and at peace. That is the trap. That is the exact moment the trauma bond tightens its iron grip around your throat, making you feel responsible for the emotions of the very person who just hurt you, forcing you to trade your sanity and your reality for their temporary comfort just to make the screaming silence stop. It is a form of psychological torment where your best qualities, your empathy, your kindness, and your loyalty are weaponized against you to keep you in line. You become the caretaker of your own abuser, frantically trying to patch up the ego you just bruised by asking for the truth. I spent years of my life trapped in what I now realize was a sophisticated and soul-crushing psychological Ponzi scheme, where my investment was my life, my youth, my career, and my vital energy, and the returns were always just out of reach, promised for a tomorrow that never actually arrived on the calendar. In the beginning, it did not feel like he was dating me. It felt like he was interviewing me with surgical precision, mapping out the architecture of my soul and identifying every fracture, every deep-seated insecurity, and every unmet need I had ever whispered in the dark during our long nights of talking. He found every hollow space within me, my deep desire for a stable family, because mine had been fractured by divorce and neglect, my long-held dream of owning a small, quiet bookstore with a reading nook and the comforting smell of old paper, and he filled those spaces with brilliant, shimmering, golden promises that felt like home. He did not just talk about a life together. He talked about our empire, our legacy, and the way the entire world would look at us with envy and awe because we were the exception to every rule. He made me feel like I was finally seen, but he was really just taking notes on how to build a cage that looked like a palace. He was naming our future children and picking out their middle names by the third week of knowing me, painting a picture of a future so vivid I could almost taste the salt air of the beach house he promised we would buy for our retirement. He would spend hours talking about the color of the shutters and the type of wood for the bookshelves, weaving a web of detail that made it impossible to doubt him. It felt like a whirlwind of destiny, a cosmic connection that justified the terrifying speed and the intensity of it all, but looking back with clear eyes and a heavy heart, it was just future faking. He was buying my total compliance, my labor, my financial support, and my unwavering loyalty in the present moment with a currency that he never intended to print, let alone back with gold. He would promise a mansion on the coast and private schools for those children while he could not even manage to pay for a simple pizza delivery or keep his word about a basic grocery run for the house. He kept me hooked through every single devaluation phase, every time he called me names, ignored me for days on end, or made me feel invisible in my own home because I was constantly waiting for that promised land that was always just 6 months away. It was a carrot on a stick, and I was the horse, running until my heart gave out, believing that if I just worked a little harder, sacrificed a little more of myself, or loved a little better, the promised future would finally arrive and all the current pain would make sense. I was chasing a mirage while he was draining my well dry. Then, the walls really started closing in on me, and the isolation became a sharp instrument used to strip me of my support systems and my sense of self. It stopped being just a private conflict between the two of us behind closed doors and started involving the entire world outside our front door, turning my reality into a public trial where I was not allowed to testify or present evidence. It was the flock, the collective weight of social pressure used to crush my resolve and make me feel small and isolated. I started getting unexpected, unsolicited texts from his sister, his mother, and even his best friend from college, whom I had only met twice at a dinner party years ago. They were not being mean or aggressive on the surface. They were playing the role of the concerned bystander, the gentle mediator of a situation they did not understand because they were only seeing the polished mask he wore for the public. They would use phrases like, "We just want what is best for both of you," or, "He is so devastated. Can you not just meet him halfway?" They told me how much he was hurting, how he was losing his life and his mind because of our constant fighting, and how he just wanted things to go back to the way they were when we were happy and perfect in their eyes. They were his flying monkeys, recruited and mobilized to do his dirty work without ever realizing they were holding the matches to my reputation and my sanity. He had spent months carefully leaking twisted, one-sided, and highly edited versions of our private lives to them, painting a portrait of me as someone unstable, high-strung, ungrateful, and impossible to please. He would tell them I was going through something difficult or that I was struggling with my mental health, so that when I finally spoke up about his behavior, I already looked like the broken, unreliable person he had described. When I noticed the group started repeating his specific, unique phrases back to me, using his exact words to criticize my character and my memory, I felt my sanity slipping away into the void. I began to wonder if I was truly the problem, the common denominator in all this misery. If everyone else in his life thought I was the one causing the pain, then I must be the crazy one, right? That is the power of the tribe. It makes you doubt your own eyes, your own ears, and your own memories, until you surrender to their version of reality just to stop the pressure of being the outcast. They were not helping him. They were helping him finish me. But the human body does not lie, even when the mind is being systematically tricked, gaslit, and reprogrammed by a master manipulator. My body was an alarm system that I had been taught to ignore, but the sirens were getting louder every day. I started to pay close attention to the physical sensation of being around him, the way my shoulders would hike up to my ears, the way my breath would become shallow and ragged, and the way my stomach would knot into a tight, painful ball whenever I heard his key in the lock at the end of the day. I noticed that my hair was thinning, my skin was breaking out, and I could not remember the last time I had a full night of restful sleep. I realized that every single time I shared a piece of genuine good news, a raise at work, a compliment from a friend, or a personal goal I had finally reached, after months of quiet effort, I ended up feeling deflated, embarrassed, and small by the end of the conversation. If I got a promotion, he would immediately ask if it came with more work than it was worth, or tell me I would probably be too busy for him now, making my success feel like a betrayal of our relationship. He could not stand for me to have a win that did not belong to him. If I was sick and needed a moment of care, a simple soup, or a glass of water, he would complain that my coughing was keeping him awake, or that I was being incredibly selfish by not making dinner despite my fever and my exhaustion. He would roll his eyes at my thermometer and ask if I was really that ill, or if I was just looking for an excuse to avoid my responsibilities. I was living in a state of profound emotional malnutrition, starving for a scrap of genuine empathy that never came, while he feasted on my attention, my labor, and my efforts. I was a battery to him, something to be used until it was drained and then complained about when it no longer provided power. I had to make a choice for my own survival before I faded away entirely into the shadow of his ego. I had to stop being a victim who was constantly reacting to his whims, his moods, and his manufactured crises, and start being a strategist who was actively protecting my own spirit and my own energy. I had to learn the 3-part rule of communication just to survive the daily interactions without losing my mind or giving him more ammunition to use against me later. I realized I could no longer share my heart, my fears, or my deepest vulnerabilities with someone who only wanted to use them as a map to find my weaknesses and exploit them for his own gain. If you are currently standing in this thick, suffocating fog where you cannot see your own hand in front of your face and you feel like you are drowning on dry land, the first thing you must do is stop trying to win the trial in the court of public opinion. You will never, ever convince the flying monkeys of your truth, because they have already swallowed the lie, and they enjoy the feeling of being the hero or the savior in his tragic, fabricated story. Do not engage with the messengers. Do not explain your side to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, and do not provide evidence that will only be handed back to him to be used as a tool of harm against you. Every time you defend yourself to them, you are just feeding the fire. If someone approaches you to make peace on the abuser's behalf or tells you that you are being too hard on him, recognize them immediately as an unsafe person and distance yourself without explanation or apology. Your reality is not a democracy. It does not require a popular vote, a group of supporters, or a consensus to be true and valid. It is true because it happened to you, and no amount of groupthink can erase that. Next, you must force yourself to look at the here and now, the cold and brutal present moment, stripped of all potential and all promises of what might be in some distant, magical future. You have to stop falling in love with a version of him that does not exist. Ignore every single word they say about the future, the vacations they are planning, the changes they promise to make once things settle down, or the apologies they offer only when you are halfway out the door with your bags packed. If they are not meeting your basic needs for respect, honesty, and kindness today, if they are lying to your face today, you must assume with absolute certainty that they will be doing the exact same thing 10 years from now, only with more experience and less remorse for the damage they cause. Watch the small promises with a detective's eye and a cold, analytical heart. If they cannot keep a simple promise to call you at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, pick up the mail, or buy the milk like they said they would, they will never, ever keep the promise to build a stable life, a marriage, or a family with you. Reclaim your dreams from their hands and take them back into your own custody where they are safe and can grow. If you want to start a business, go back to school, or buy a home, start making those plans independently, in secret, and with your own resources. Do not let your aspirations be held hostage by a person who only uses them as bait to keep you in the cage of their influence. Your dreams are yours, and they do not need his permission to exist. When the victim-bully cycle starts and they attempt to deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender, you must hold the line with everything you have inside you, even when your heart is breaking and you want to scream. When they inevitably slump their shoulders, start to cry, or play the victim of your harshness after you have set a firm, necessary boundary, do not rush in to soothe them or take back what you said. It feels painful, it feels unnatural, and it feels counterintuitive because you are a person with high empathy and a kind heart. But you must recognize the performance for what it is, a tactical maneuver to regain control over your actions and your mind. You are not hurting them by having a boundary. They are hurting because they can no longer walk over you. Observe the shift in their posture, the tone of their voice, and the timing of their tears without absorbing the emotion into your own body or your own conscience. If you set a boundary and they react with a terrifying rage or performative, sobbing tears, let them have their reaction in their own space. Do not retract the boundary or apologize just to make the immediate discomfort stop, because that is how they train you to stay silent and compliant. They use your discomfort as a leash. Finally, you must manage your information like it is classified material kept in a high-security vault. Never share your best, most joyful news with them first. They will only find a way to tarnish it, minimize it, and make you feel guilty for being happy while they are sad. Give your joy to the people who can actually carry it with you and celebrate you without jealousy or competition. If you have bad news that involves logistics, the car broke, the roof is leaking, the appointment was moved, state it as a cold, hard, factual statement and walk away before they can turn it into an emotional crisis or a reason to attack you. Reserve your daily conversation for the indifferent and the neutral, the weather, the traffic, the most mundane and boring details of the day. Talk about the price of eggs or the color of the sky. This keeps the lines of communication open enough to avoid the punishing silent treatment without ever again exposing your inner soul to further harm. You are not a secondary character or a prop in their tragic, self-centered play. You are the director of your own life and the sole owner of your own story. It is time to stop waiting for them to change, because they will not, and start changing the way you respond to the chaos they create. If you found this helpful and it gave you the clarity and the validation you needed today, please subscribe to the channel and like the video so we can reach more people who are currently navigating these same dark, confusing waters and help them find their way back to the shore of their own lives. You are not alone in this struggle, even when it feels like the whole world is against you, and your intuition is actually much sharper and more accurate than you have been led to believe all these years. That voice in your gut that told you something was wrong? It was right. Keep trusting yourself. Keep setting those hard boundaries even when your hands shake and your voice falters. And remember that your peace of mind and your sanity are worth more than any shiny, empty promise they can ever offer you. You have the inherent strength to walk away, to heal from the inside out, and, more importantly, to stay away and build a life that is truly, authentically yours. I am standing right here with you on this journey toward freedom and clarity, and I believe in your ability to reclaim your life. You are stronger than the bond that held you. If you found value in these strategies today, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach others who are still trapped in the silence, letting them know they are not crazy and they are not alone. Stay sharp, trust your gut, and remember, you deserve a life built on truth, not just promises. I will see you in the next one.